Um.
The heavy sound of the door slamming echoed through the air, shaking the ground and making my heart tremble.
Phew.
After everything calmed down, Claire let out a deep sigh, collapsing weakly onto the floor. She gently touched her burning left cheek, looking at the tightly closed door, and a bitter smile of relief appeared on her face.
No more beatings. At least until that door opens again, I can change into clean clothes, apply some ointment to my wounds, and then lie on the bed, reading parenting stories to the baby in my belly.
Claire is 15 weeks pregnant. Since the 12th week, the man who once swore to love and cherish her forever, who eloped with her against all odds, has transformed as if by magic from a prince charming into a terrifying demon, a demon carrying a hereditary condition. And she has become the bride of this demon.
Never marry a man with a hereditary condition. Never.
This was the advice adults constantly drilled into us girls from a young age. At first, Claire didn't know what a hereditary condition was. It was only when she grew older that she understood it referred to a condition causing a strong body odor. In today's advanced technological age, this condition is no longer an incurable ailment, but in their local area, it is still regarded as a dreadful hereditary disease. If a family has a member with this condition, the men can't find wives, and the women can't find husbands. Moreover, the family would face discrimination from neighbors, essentially becoming social outcasts.
You foolish girl. I can't believe I gave birth to you. There are so many men out there. Why did you have to fall for a man with a hereditary condition?
Mary struck Claire's arm with a stick, causing excruciating pain, but it didn't diminish her love for John.
He doesn't have the condition. He's not like that.
Claire huddled in a corner, clutching her arm, and screamed as Mary raised the stick again.
So what? He comes from that kind of family. His father and grandfather had the condition. Even if he doesn't have it, his children might. Do you want to marry into that family and bring shame upon us? Do you want Tom to be unable to hold his head up in public?
Mary grew more agitated as she spoke. Hearing the mention of Tom, Claire's eyes flashed with sarcasm.
Tom? All you care about is Tom. Isn't Tom the bargaining chip you used to keep, father? But what happened? He still ran off with a younger, prettier woman. Mom, you can't stand to see me loved because you have no one to love you, right? John's father and grandfather had the condition, but he doesn't, and he loves me. He loves me.
Slap! Mary threw down the stick and slapped Claire hard across the face.
You shameless thing.
With that, she stormed out, locking Claire in the bedroom.
Ugh!
Claire's stomach churned, and she vomited all over the floor. She suspected she was pregnant but hadn't had a chance to go to the hospital. She had secretly used a pregnancy test, and it showed 2 lines.
I wanted to tell John the good news immediately, but I was trapped at home. At that moment, I felt like a small plant crushed under a rock, struggling to break free but powerless, only able to.
Claire?
Claire seemed to hear Tom's voice.
Did Mary hurt you?
Where's Mary? Did she go out?
She just left, probably went to Jessica's house.
Great! I was secretly delighted.
Claire, can you open the door? Anna is in pain and needs to go to the hospital.
My brother didn't answer immediately. I anxiously clenched my hands and called out again.
Claire, Anna is in pain. Can you open the door for me, please?
Okay.
After a moment, I heard my brother's soft voice. Following my instructions, he found the key and opened the door for me. Looking at my brother, who I usually didn't treat well, I felt a mix of emotions.
Claire, I'm going to the hospital. Stay home and take care of Mary for me.
I knelt down and gently rubbed his head, saying my goodbyes.
Anna, are you not coming back?
My brother seemed to sense something and held my hand tightly, not wanting me to leave.
Be good, Claire. Anna needs to go to the hospital.
Ugh.
I felt nauseous again and quickly broke free from his small hand, covering my mouth as I rushed out the door, running towards freedom and love.
John!
Sophie! Who hurt you?
When John saw me covered in injuries, he was first shocked, then heartbroken and remorseful when he learned the reason for my injuries. He held me tenderly, filled with guilt and regret.
I shouldn't have gotten involved with you. Knowing my situation, I don't deserve to be with you. I'll take you to the hospital now, and after the doctor checks you, I'll take you home. We.
He choked up, his eyes reddening with sorrow.
Are you leaving me, John?
I gazed at him and took his right hand, placing it on my flat stomach.
You can leave me, but will you leave our child too?
What? You.
His eyes widened in shock and joy, mixed with disbelief.
You're pregnant?
The pregnancy test showed 2 lines. It shouldn't be wrong.
Let's go! To the hospital!
He immediately took me to the hospital, and after confirming I was 4.5 weeks pregnant, he cried tears of joy.
I'm going to be a father! I'm going to be a father!
I leaned happily and sweetly against him, whispering,
I'm going to be a mother. I'm going to be your wife.
With that, I stood on tiptoe and kissed him. After that, John settled me in his dormitory, and we spent the happiest days of our lives together. Until Mary found me. She brought David, Jessica, and others to John's workplace, causing a scene. Then they came to the dormitory, trying to drag me back home.
I'm not leaving. I'm pregnant.
You're pregnant?
Mary was shocked, her eyes moving to my still flat stomach, shaking her head repeatedly.
No. You actually have the child of a man with a bad reputation. Wow.
She collapsed to the ground, crying loudly.
You foolish child. What did he give you to make you willingly give yourself to him?
Mary, get up. It should still be within 55 days. It can be taken care of.
Hearing this, I froze, clutching my stomach and backing away. Hearing Jessica's words, Mary immediately stopped crying. She looked over with red eyes, like a predator eyeing its prey, making me tremble with fear.
Don't harm Sophie and my child.
Just as my family was closing in on me, John rushed over, his face still bruised.
Please let us be together. I promise to take good care of Sophie. I beg you, please.
They say a man's dignity is precious, and seeing John lower himself for me made me even more determined about our love.
If you don't break up with her, I will make sure you lose your job. And soon, I will bring more people to take her away and break one of your legs.
What should we do?
Mary had once brought people to force the woman father was seeing to terminate her pregnancy, which made father determined to divorce her. So I knew Mary meant what she said.
Let's elope. I'll take you to my home.
Elope? What about your job here?
I don't need it. If I have to choose between my career and you, I choose you.
Pfft.
I couldn't help but laugh, lost in his tender and loving eyes, unable to pull myself away. The next day, John resigned from his job and took me back to his hometown, a small town on the outskirts of the city. Perhaps because of some family history, their house was quite secluded, with at least 2 kilometers between them and the nearest neighbors, giving it a somewhat isolated feel. But I found the tranquility here comforting and pleasant. Although we didn't get a marriage certificate, John's family still held a proper wedding banquet for us. I wore the red wedding dress I had longed for and bowed to the heavens and earth with John, who was dressed as the groom. John kept his promise, showering me with love and care after the wedding, and his family treated me with utmost respect. Everything was wonderful, filled with laughter and joy. The only downside was that John's family kept a close watch on me. Whenever I left the house, they followed me closely, as if afraid I would run away with the baby.
Why do I feel like I'm being kept here?
Hearing this, a shadow briefly crossed John's face, but he quickly smiled and chided me for overthinking. I didn't think much of it, being a blissfully happy woman. Time flew by in John's home, and 2 months passed in the blink of an eye. John took me to the town hospital for a prenatal checkup. Learning that the baby was stable, we both felt relieved and resumed our long-missed marital life. Maybe the pregnancy hormones made me crave intimacy, and I constantly sought John's affection. At first, John was enthusiastic, but soon he seemed less interested, often ending things quickly.
I'm too tired, and frequent intimacy might affect the baby's development.
I believed him, but a seed of doubt was planted in my heart. However, he no longer tried to comfort me as he used to and often went out, sometimes not returning all night, which made me anxious. Before I could confront him, Helen pulled me into the kitchen and handed me a spatula.
John says you're good at cooking. From now on, you'll be in charge of the meals.
I was stunned.
Cooking? 3 meals a day?
Hurry up and take it. It's almost 6 o'clock, and your father and the others will be home for dinner soon.
Helen shoved the spatula into my hand without giving me a chance to refuse and pushed me to the stove, pointing at the already washed and chopped vegetables, rattling off a list of instructions.
Just focus on cooking, you don't need to worry about anything else. You should know John's taste, and as for the others, your father can't eat spicy food, so try not to add too many chili peppers.
Mom!
I suddenly interrupted her, asking blankly.
Why do I have to cook?
Why?
Helen's eyes widened in surprise.
You eat and use everything in our house, and now you're questioning why you have to cook?
But I'm expecting.
Hasn't it been over 12 weeks already?
Helen asked matter-of-factly, leaving me speechless.
What's going on, Mom?
At that moment, John walked into the kitchen, finally giving me a sense of relief.
I immediately put down the spatula and hugged him, feeling wronged. Mom wants me to cook and take care of all the meals.
Is there a problem with that?
To my surprise, John looked at me in confusion and echoed Helen's words.
Isn't the baby stable now?
Exactly. Doing some light housework is actually good for the baby's development.
Helen chimed in, handing the spatula back to me.
We're just asking you to cook, not do heavy labor.
John.
I ignored Helen and continued to act spoiled towards John.
I'll help you out.
John, half coaxing and half pushing, said.
Couples working together make the work easier.
Easier? Not at all. There were 13 people in this household, and even though the meals were simple, the quantity was large. Even a simple vegetable dish required a whole pot. And John, the man who said he would help, just stood by playing on his phone.
You said your family treats me like a treasure, but I'm clearly just a cook.
How are you not a treasure? If they didn't value you, why would my mom give you so much jewelry?
But I can't even wear them out.
John put away his phone, came over, and hugged me, kissing my neck.
Honey, wear them for me tonight.
I shivered and immediately surrendered. That night, the shadows of the trees outside swayed like dancing demons. Inside, the bed was a sea of red waves, filled with romance. I had a rare good night's sleep until I was awakened by the sound of rummaging.
Who's there?
I realized John was no longer in the room, but there was a suspicious figure crouching by the wardrobe, searching through the bottom drawer where I kept my jewelry.
Are you awake, sister-in-law?
It was John's sister, Emily.
Seeing the gold necklace in her hand, I frowned and asked, "What are you doing?"
My brother said you don't use these, so he told me to take whatever I want.
Your brother said that? I didn't believe it.
Yes. He mentioned it during breakfast. Mom even complained that you were still in bed and didn't get up to make us breakfast.
Did he really say that?
I still didn't believe it.
Are you deaf because of the pregnancy? Sister-in-law, you should get up. It's almost noon, and Mom is waiting for you to cook lunch.
Emily, oblivious to my darkening expression, put on the necklace and then took a pair of earrings and a diamond ring from the jewelry box. That was the wedding ring John bought for me.
No! You can't take that!
I jumped out of bed and rushed over, snatching the ring back.
Ouch!
Caught off guard, Emily fell to the ground, her chin hitting the edge of the bed.
Ah!
In the next moment, Emily cried out in pain, immediately drawing the attention of the entire family.
What happened?
Helen rushed to the front, helping Emily up. When she saw the swelling on Emily's chin, she turned and glared at Claire angrily.
Why did you push your sister?
I didn't! I just...
Emily did fall because of Claire, so she was at fault.
Ah, I just took my sister-in-law's ring, and she hit me.
I didn't hit you!
Seeing John rushing over, Claire ran towards him.
I didn't hit my sis!
Before she could finish her sentence, John slapped her, leaving her stunned.
Lily was born with difficulty by my mom, and she's been frail since childhood. We can't even bear to scold her, let alone hit her. How could you lay a hand on her?
John's words hurt Claire more than the slap on her face.
I told you, I didn't hit her. I just accidentally pushed her, causing her to fall. That's my fault, but she shouldn't have barged into my room and taken our wedding ring.
Claire spoke through gritted teeth, holding the diamond ring up in front of him.
Your room? The place you're living in now is our house.
Ha! Your house! Fine, I'll leave your house right now.
Throwing the ring away, Claire stormed out of the house, crying as she ran out.
Sophie!
John was shocked by Claire's actions and chased after her. When he caught up, he knelt down, hugging her legs and begging her to come back, slapping himself repeatedly and promising never to let Emily into their room again. Claire softened, thinking her behavior might have been impulsive, possibly due to pregnancy hormones. After being coaxed back by John, Emily apologized to her. Helen, as an elder, didn't lower herself to apologize but took over her cooking duties, not letting her into the kitchen anymore. Phew. Claire felt relieved, thinking this was just the trivialities of real life. However, since that day, she never saw that diamond ring again.
It might have fallen into some corner and could turn up someday.
It did turn up eventually, but not in their room. It was on the hand of a woman John brought home.
Why is my ring on that woman's hand?
I lost at cards and didn't have cash, so I used the ring as collateral.
Why didn't you tell me when you found a ring?
John scratched his head.
I forgot.
Forgot? What is your relationship with her?
What relationship? Just card friends.
John's tone was casual, but he never met Claire's eyes.
I don't believe you. What is your relationship?
Claire grabbed him, pressing for answers, which annoyed him. He shook her off and walked out the door.
John!
Claire chased after him, but he slammed the door shut, blocking her way. Am I being paranoid? Claire began to reflect on herself. Tick-tock, tick-tock, the clock kept ticking, but John hadn't returned.
Why isn't he back yet?
I was getting anxious and wanted to go out to look for him, but Helen, using the excuse that it was dark and the roads were bad, wouldn't let me leave. Helpless, I had to wait inside the house. Sleepiness hit me, and I glanced at the clock, realizing it was almost 10 at night. Just as I was about to fall asleep, the door finally opened.
John is back. Wait! What is that smell?
As the door opened, a strong scent mixed with alcohol and perfume hit me. This scent seemed familiar.
Susan!
My pupils dilated instantly, and I trembled with anger.
I waited for you all day, and you went to see another woman behind my back.
Yawn.
John just glanced at me, yawning as he took off his clothes.
Link.
A lighter suddenly fell out of his pocket. I looked at it and immediately recognized it as Susan's.
You went to see Susan, didn't you?
I grabbed him and questioned, my eyes gradually reddening.
Oh, I'm so tired.
John shook off my hand and lay down on the bed. I wouldn't let it go, pouncing on him, and saw fresh kiss marks on his neck. I slapped him hard across the face.
You actually cheated on me.
John, now fully awake from the slap, sat up angrily and slapped me back, knocking me to the ground. I froze, my vision went black, and I fainted. John was frightened, and so was his family.
Lap, slap, slap.
Helen carefully placed me on the bed, while John knelt by the bed, slapping himself, just like that day when he chased after me.
Sophie, I was wrong. I was wrong.
John's family kept persuading me, but their words felt more like moral coercion.
Sophie, don't get too upset. Men sometimes make mistakes, it's normal. As a woman, you need to be broad-minded for the family to be happy.
Seeing John's swollen face from his own slaps, I softened. Waking up in the middle of the night, I found John wasn't beside me. I felt uneasy and got out of bed, puzzled.
What if you hurt the baby?
Curious, I moved closer and saw John hanging his head, being scolded, surrounded by other family members. It seemed Helen did care about me. Not only did she punish John in front of me, but she also wanted to enforce family discipline. I smiled with relief, just about to go in and stop Helen from scolding John further, when I heard her say,
Next time you hit her, be careful not to use too much force like this time and knock her out.
Hit her face. It's far from the belly, and even if it swells, it won't hurt the baby.
The others agreed, as if discussing something mundane, making my legs go weak, almost collapsing. I don't know how I walked back to the room, but I didn't sleep all night, my mind restless with John's snoring.
Lap.
2 days later, I got another slap from John, just because I talked back when Helen asked me to continue managing the meals. This time, he was very careful, hitting me hard enough to hurt but not to knock me down.
Lap, slap.
After that, the slaps became more frequent, the reasons ranging from not respecting the elderly to being lazy, and eventually, for no reason at all. Whenever John was angry, I became his punching bag. I finally realized I had married a monster. Looking at my reflection in the mirror, with my left cheek swollen high, I felt numb. After enduring a long month, at 16 weeks pregnant, John took Claire to the hospital for a prenatal checkup again.
You have contracted a venereal disease. I suggest you reconsider having this child.
The doctor delivered devastating news and subtly hinted at something more.
Keep a close eye on your husband.
Claire was thunderstruck.
Can it be treated?
John was equally shocked, but chose to seek treatment for Claire instead of following the doctor's advice.
Why did I contract a venereal disease?
After a long silence, Claire finally exploded the moment they returned home.
Why?
She confronted John, her eyes filled with rage.
It must be because you didn't pay attention to personal hygiene.
I didn't pay attention to personal hygiene?
She laughed bitterly, poking him hard in the chest.
You know exactly why I got this disease.
Enough. Can't it be treated?
No treatment. Let's terminate the pregnancy.
What did you say? This is the child I worked so hard to get you to conceive.
Worked so hard to conceive?
She repeated his words slowly, finally understanding everything.
I am just a tool for your family to have children, aren't I? Your family has had this disease for generations, and no other woman would bear your child, so you used me, right? No one wanted to marry you, so you tricked me with sweet words. You, a man no one wants.
John's hand swung towards her, and Claire instinctively closed her eyes.
Hit me, and maybe the child will be gone too.
Unexpectedly, his hand stopped in midair and quickly withdrew.
Sophie, let's get treated properly. I promise I won't hit you again.
John used his old trick, bringing the whole family to coax her. But this time, Claire didn't soften. Instead, she had the thought of escaping. She had to leave this place. When she came for a follow-up at the hospital and saw her cousin-in-law Michael on duty outside, it felt like seeing a lifeline.
Cows!
Sophie, it's getting late. Let's go home.
Just as she was about to call out, John, who had just picked up the medicine, pulled her back to the car, and they quickly drove away. Through the rearview mirror, Claire saw Michael writing a ticket for a car parked illegally, and an idea formed in her mind.
Ouch, my stomach, it hurts.
The next day, she pretended to be sick and was taken to the hospital for a checkup. While John wasn't paying attention, Claire threw a pre-written note for help onto Michael's motorcycle. She prayed that Michael would see it. But one day, 2 days passed, and she didn't see Michael coming to rescue her. Instead, the Chin family tightened their watch over her. Now, she couldn't even step outside the door and could only move around indoors.
I'm here to see my cousin Sophie.
2 more days passed, and while Claire was reading a parenting book in the bedroom, she heard what sounded like her cousin Catherine's voice.
Cousin, MMPH.
Just as she was about to call out, someone covered her mouth from behind. She turned to see it was John. I suspected I was pregnant but hadn't had a chance to visit the hospital. Secretly, I used a pregnancy test, and it showed 2 lines. I wanted to share the news with John immediately, but I was stuck at home, feeling like a small plant crushed under a rock.
Claire? Are you there?
I seemed to hear Tom's voice, but I couldn't respond. John found out about Claire's lost pregnancy. Approaching her, he raised his hand but instead grabbed her arm and dragged her to the registration desk. His fingers expressed his anger, causing pain even through her clothes.
I need to use the restroom.
Always needing the bathroom.
John pushed her hard, but fortunately, Grace caught her and led her into the restroom.
I'll wait for you here.
John stood guard at the other door, leaving Claire feeling hopeless. After the checkup, she was like a walking corpse, letting John drag her around. The doctor mentioned she could try again in 6 months. To John, she still held value, but to Claire, it was a fatal blow.
I'll never escape this tormenting demon.
Suddenly, she noticed Michael, her cousin-in-law, across the street. Her heart came alive again.
Michael!
John noticed Michael too and became tense. He pressed Claire's head down and pushed her into the back seat.
No. No.
Claire felt a premonition that John would keep her at Grace's house until she recovered, then make her conceive again and keep her there to nurture and raise the child.
I have to escape, no matter the risk.
As John shoved her into the back seat, Claire quickly moved to the other door. She opened it and dashed into the busy traffic.
Claire, get back here!
Oh my, be careful.
Claire dodged oncoming vehicles, moving towards Michael.
Michael.
Her shout was drowned out by blaring horns. Michael continued his duties, unaware of her plight.
Claire, stop right there.
Claire saw John dodging cars, trying to catch up. She repeated in her mind, "It's either death or freedom." With determination, she charged forward.
Claire!
John's hand grasped only air. Claire ran towards freedom without looking back. Listening to the rushing wind and blaring horns, Claire felt a cold liquid on her face, unsure if it was sweat or tears. Suddenly, a screeching brake sounded to her left, followed by more brakes and horns. She didn't dare open her eyes, fearfully awaiting doom.
If I could do it all over again, I would never become the bride of this tormenting demon.
Her right arm suddenly hurt, lifting her off the ground. The sound of cars screeching to a halt echoed behind her.